Kravitz. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 8 of The Leaderboard right here on the HHH Racing Podcast, sponsored by TwinSpires. I'm your proud host, Howard Kravitz, along with co-hosts and contest players Noah Maher and Matt Miller, and we are here to discuss a few things. We're going to talk about this past weekend's exciting tournaments, live money tournaments through TwinSpires, and then this Saturday we will preview the Jerome and Smarty Jones stake laden card with a contest that will qualify you for the KDBC on Kentucky Derby Day, $500 entry. Please make sure you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor if you cannot watch us on our YouTube channel, and also follow us on X at HHH Racing Pod. We've got a lot of other information that we'll be sharing with you as well. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, notification bell on the top right, and smash that like button below the video player. We greatly appreciate your support. That will send like-minded horse players to the HHH Racing Podcast. Matt, I'm going to start with you, sir. How you doing today? You and I had a wonderful time at Gulfstream this past weekend, and I know you played some TwinSpires contests as well, and we are here to talk about some exciting stuff going on coming up this Saturday.
Yeah, you scored us some really nice media accommodations, which made it easy to kind of split attention between Gulfstream, where the weather was perfect. The racing was great, but yeah, I had one eye on that and the other eye on these TwinSpires contests, and I mean that's kind of the mainstay of my play. So I was glad to be in a position to kind of do everything, and things went relatively well, and yeah, very fun time. So
great. It was great to spend time with you, of course, and I hope you had a nice Christmas with your family there in Lexington. You're on to warmer places as well, down south, and then back up to school. You're just bouncing back and forth. Matt and I were joking. We got off the plane and got on the out of the airport on Sunday. Yesterday. I'm sorry, and there was a 70-degree difference between wind chill and the temperatures that we were at. You know that feeling of being a SoCal guy.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely brutal, and you get the 20s out here, and then you get the 70s and the 80s down in the south side of Florida, and even in my area on the West Coast. So it's been tough. It's been cold, but I'm looking forward to get there, and it feels like it's been a while since I've been with you guys. With no Weekend Warriors last week, and Jackson was on last week too. So it's good to see you guys.
Pleasure to have you on. Noah, of course, has been rocking out in contests and does a great job as always. Guys, we're here to talk about TwinSpires contests, of course, live money. Before we talk about, and Matt, I'm going to sort of let you lead the way first about the last contest, the $1,000 Oaklawn KDBC/NHC qualifier that happened this past Saturday. First, I just want to say something quickly to the viewers and listeners, and those are 3 words. I hear you. There are a few, complaints from our show about a week and a half ago that I sort of went on too long about an inquiry that I thought should have happened. And a lot of people were like, let's talk about contests some more. I totally agree with you. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we're a new show here. We're feeling our way through the process, and we want your input. And we've gotten 95% great input. The last show that we had overall was great, but we got a few people comment and said a few things, said, let's move on with it. So I hear you, appreciate it. We're going to show less replays and less, talk less about specific results of the races and more about the contest situation. As we've done, Matt, for the first 6.5 shows. I just did a little bit of a detour, and guys, we're nothing if not for our listeners and viewers. So we appreciate their input.
Yeah, we're all ears. And if you want to tell us everything's great, that's great. If you want to give us some suggestions, that's how you get better. So, yeah, I respect Howard. I hear you.
Appreciate that. Katie's in the chat. What's up, Katie? Chris Couples is here, alive, awake, and here. Chris, I'm glad your procedure went well. I know he doesn't mind me saying it. No, the old colonoscopy, yesterday, which I had the, I won't say pleasure of having over the summer. I'm all good as well. Chris, glad you're good as well. Look who's here, Ryan Anderson, who actually just did a show himself for something tomorrow. What's up, Ryan? Thanks for joining the show. TwinSpires. Thanks, TwinSpires. Reposted the stream. We got a lot of people watching, listening already, more than 100 people watching. We got James to 7MV. What's up, horse lovers? How you doing, James? Here's someone new. Fat Wallet. What tournaments would you suggest for a beginner? Great question, Fat Wallet. We could talk about it later, Matt, but let's respect Fat Wallet, who we have not seen in the chat. Love the name, by the way, because we all would like to have a Fat Wallet as long as there's money in there. You want to answer that question, Matt, real quick?
I want to get to it later, and just if you'll give me 1 minute to just kind of go off script and talk about the script. I think the plan here is we're about to take a look back at the last week. We're going to focus on the main tournament. We're going to also talk about a bunch of people that won some cool stuff along the way. We will then talk about where we're at with the tour, and then we'll talk about tournaments coming up. And I think that's a perfect spot to get to recommendations.
Let's get into it, Matt. The tournament from this past Saturday, congratulations to several people, especially Edward. I believe it's pronounced Dykey, if it's just Dyke, or I'm not exactly sure, Edward, how to pronounce your name. I greatly apologize for that. Matt, they started with $500 bankroll, and he went over 10x to win. Interesting enough, I know you're going to talk about it, I'll go full screen here. And no, I don't know if you've seen this already, but he show-laxed, as we like to say, just 4 show bets. And then, boom, Matt, a 9-1 shot all in race 10 at Oaklawn this past Saturday, yielding the victory. A gutsy play and one hell of a play, just going for it right there, Matt. And no, we all like doing that. You know, the three of us, hats off to Edward for winning the contest last Saturday.
Yeah, well, first of all, if we're going to use the term show-lax, we need to use it properly. It's show-laxing when you're relaxing. So I would just call what he did show betting or capital preservation betting. It's show-laxing when you're just kind of finishing out your minimums and they don't matter.
Right, when you already have the lead. Show-laxing, you're just relaxing because you're just paying show bets. He was doing something slightly different. Go ahead.
He was saying, look, I've got a play later that I love, and I don't want to waste my money on taking big risk on minimums until then. So he was just taking a very conservative betting approach. It's funny, and I'm certainly not making fun of you, and I'm not sure if Noah caught it, but what this guy did in this tournament is so much better than we've talked about so far. It looks like he sat around and made 4 show bets and then a big win bet. But if you scroll down a little bit, keep going down on the screen, all of a sudden his name is going to appear again. It's going to have no money next to it. There it is. It's the same 4 show bets followed by a different $532 bet in the last race. So this guy played the 2 entries identically, and at the last minute took 2 horses that clearly, based on the leaderboard, you know, I didn't go back and look at the odds on the 6, but
I've got it, Matt. He was 7, or I think he was 7.8 to 1.
So, right, I'm guessing both of these horses, in his opinion, were live and gave him a shot to win with just a simple win bet. So that's some major claps. That's some killer strategy. It is hard to have 2 entries in these things and just play them the same up until the last second. I mean, that could have been the tip of the week. I'll have a different tip of the week at the end of the show, but that's a really good job.
Well, what I wonder about, Noah, is did he like these 2 horses before the tournament started, or was he planning on just doing those show bets, which I'm sure he looked into, and then was just going to look at the leaderboard and just take 2 horses? So I'm not minimizing his decision. I'm just wondering, I'm not sure I could do that, because if I don't like those 2 horses, I'm not going to put my entire, tournament on it just because those are the horses I would need to win. You follow what I'm saying, Noah? But again, hats off to it. Worked out great for him. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, he had to have liked at least one of those 2 pretty strongly to bet that kind of bankroll in what seemed like a pretty wide open race. I mean, you had two shots that he thought had a big chance at 7.8 to 1, like you said, and almost 9 to 1 with the one that ended up winning. So hats off to him. And we kind of saw a different way to get there, a different way to get to 10X with Sievers 2 weeks ago, where he was just cold cocking stuff. Whereas this guy just picked two bigger prices that he thought had a big chance, was able to score on one of them. So however you do it, there's many ways to do it.
You want to read what it says at the bottom of the screen from Chris Noah, please?
Yeah, Chris was echoing that he's had a hell of a week so far. Did the same thing in the Saturday Fairgrounds contest, which I think was that a feeder, Matt, to the one that we're about to talk about?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
No.
So he it looks like he played the same horse in the last as well on the same horse to get 2 entries, and so he's got his 2 ready for Saturday. I love it.
Wow. Well, the horse that won number 1, Herbs Bolt, was ridden by Saez 9 to 1, won by a half a length. We're not going to show the replay, but and the 6 horse finished 3rd, by the way, Matt. So I assuming he's not a trifecta player, but if he played the trifecta, it was a $1 try for $282. He could have got some extra money keying those horses in 1st and 3rd. Well, anyway, Matt, congratulations to Edward. Are there other people you'd like to discuss coming out of this tournament, Matt, or certain plays?
Definitely, yes. So, I mean, from this tournament, I mean, I think we should just highlight, with 65 entries, I think it paid out to 7 spots. And yeah, let's look at the names of those people. I mean, this is a top prize. I mean, these were entries to, I think there were 2 seats to the NHC, and otherwise it's 5 KDBC seats for $5,000 a piece. So yeah, Ed Dickey, Robert Nolan, Mike Mulvihill, Lawrence Bergen, Adam Burgoon, oh boy, Edward Swanhurst, and I think Frank Bastari. I'm hopeful that we're right on the math. You know, it's funny, Noah and I were talking, and if anyone from TwinSpires is watching, you guys for a long time did this massive service of, on the left of the screen, doing the math after registration closed to say, hey, here's the exact payouts.
Yeah.
And a few times, I have a feeling it's just holidays and vacations and stuff, but a few times you're leaving us morons to do our own math, and it's not easy. We actually.
Well, fortunately, you've got a guy that's pretty good at math. Not that you two are very good at math as well, but it's my profession. Based on what it says KDBC Forever 31. There were 65, so there should have been 2 KDBCs and 2 NHCs is what there should have been if I did that quick math correctly, right, guys?
I think there's more than that. So if you look at what 50 is.
Well, let's see. It was
1 to 50.
1 to 10, and then 1 at 31 for the KDBC. Forever 10 following the 40 seconds. Sorry about that. So that'd be 4. Right. I think it's 4. I think it's 4 KDBCs actually.
Right.
Yeah,
so
if I did that correctly.
I'm a little stuck. Is it 7? Is it 6? Whatever. Anyway. The bottom line is, so either Frank was on the bubble or he got in. But this is a good job by all these people. It's funny. I took some notes. I went back and looked at the last week, just curious. Okay. And I didn't do this for every tournament. It's not possible. You know, there's too many little feeders and cash contests, but there's a bunch of names I'd like to read out as I just went through some of the bigger contests. Steven Zare has been on a tear. I think if I did the count right, he had 4 wins in this last week. The guy on the screen, Noah's got a win. John Schimpf, Ryan Petruniak, I think had 3. Tyler Hoffman, David Smith, BC champ. I pulled out a couple of these. Michael Domable, Justin Danley, Frank Peros, Max Schneff, Kevin Lux pulled out a couple. Tony Rollo, a name we know from Crownsway. George Scott, Scott Ogden, Chris Couples pulled out a couple. Steve Crocker, a couple. Ryan Anderson, our friend. Ed Dickey, not only, if that's how you say it, the 2 from this tournament. He had 1 from this tournament. He had another one where he actually cashed twice in the same tournament. So we talked about that. Mm-hmm. Zach Agamenani. I'm sorry, Zach. Nice job, though. Brad Anderson, our friend Dr. Tang, Robert Dolan, Dave Handelin. So and it's also worth calling out Eric Walker, who has been splashing around learning in these cash tournaments. So we're going to get to that question later. But I've answered this recently for someone who's been successful in these. And so we'll talk about that. The other name to throw out there is just Nick Sievers. Yeah, it was on Express Bet, but he did a killer job in that other contest. And it's worth, if we're a contest-based show, you got to call out a really good job. And he had a killer day. So yeah, that's kind of looking back at the last week. Where we are right now in the tour, there's actually been some movement. We're now in session 4 of 4. There hasn't been a ton of movement on the overall season-long leaderboard. That's a pretty tough board to make big, fast changes on. But Howard, if you pull it up, we're going to see the names Kevin Lux and Steven Zare right there. I happened to be there for 3rd. I had one decent tournament myself that got me most of those points. Ryan Petruniak, it's funny, based on the screen, you have him like just barely lurking there in 6th. That guy is going to be trouble for everybody once he gets fired up. So I have a feeling session 4 is going to probably be one of the more competitive sessions. There just seem to be a couple more. Justin Danley's been in the mix a bunch. There might be more than just a few of us going after each other on these. So stay tuned.
Look at 8 and 9, Matt. Our wonderful co-hosts there, including one that's on the screen, Jackson Muniz and Noah. You're in 9th. Very cool, my friend. So we got people, and then Chris Couples, who we just mentioned. But we got 2 of our co-hosts. Actually, our 3 co-hosts are 3, 8, and 9 right now, Matt. That's pretty darn impressive for a show that's called The Leaderboard, sponsored by TwinSpires.
Yeah, and look, we've got our own little group chat going, and I don't think this is the wrong thing to say. We're trying our best to keep a streak going of getting at least one of us into the prize pool every day. It's, with a few of us, it sounds easier than it is. It's still pretty tough to win these things, but we had a streak. I think we got up to maybe 11 days or 12 days at some point. So yeah, it's been, on top of all this stuff, TwinSpires has done a good job of making this somewhat of a social community. There's just so many of these names that we now see over and over. Hello, Terry. Thank you. As evidenced by that. And so, yeah, it's like we've talked about before. If you're not winning yourself, it's always nice to see a friend up there. And it feels like I see more friends' names on these leaderboards than ever before. So,
well, we thought they were friends, Noah, but since you guys are continually beating people, not so sure. Yeah, just kidding. It is a great group of people, and we are friends with a lot of those people. I just want to say very quickly, people are like, Howard, you host the show. Where's your name on the? I've talked about this before. I don't play nearly as many tournaments based on my job and my work. I don't have time to play during the week. I was just in Florida the last few days. Certainly, I've played some, and I frankly. I've just been missing, if you've watched a show, I've been losing by heads and by necks in just the most brutal spots. And so I've not been doing as well as these 2 guys right there. Let's see, there and there we go. There we go. These 2 guys. Or as Jackson. So I'm not going to come on, guys, and say that I'm the best contest player and that I don't, or that I don't play contests. I've played some, just not nearly as much as these guys. It just hasn't happened for me. To be honest, my goal is not to be towards the top of these leaderboards. I know it's not going to happen, Max. I just don't play nearly as many as you guys do. Plain and simple.
Yeah, and it's hey, Dave, I see you there from Japan. Good to see you. Yeah, look, a lot of these names do repeat because, based on people's work schedules or home schedules, it's a fun game. It's, whether if you do crossword puzzles in the mornings, whether you do these in the afternoons, I think there's a bunch of us that just look at these as fun little mental puzzles every day. And and so, yeah. So, okay. So let's talk about what's coming up ahead. And let's answer the question before getting to the highlight. If we pull up the schedule for upcoming registrations, I think the key point I want to make to Fat Wallet is look at all the different price points. $200, $40. You can enter up to twice. And for me, I tend to look at everything times 2 because I try to do things twice if I'm going to do them. But the bottom line is some of these are, again, Howard's highlighting 250, 250. Some of these are for cash. Some of these, the prizes are for seats in upcoming
And Matt,
tournaments.
if I could just jump in now, would be a great time to remind people, especially Fat Wallet, on the left side of the screen, you can just click on, for example, under $50, and it'll take you. Actually, it doesn't have any right now. It'll 51 to 100. And there you go, Matt. So you don't really have to even scroll through. You can just simply, and great job by Darren Zocali and everyone TwinSpires for having these, and including the tracks you may want. Just look on the left side, Matt, and the dates you might want to play. Everything is right there for you. Very easy, user-friendly.
Super easy to filter. And so I would say pick your goal. You know, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to qualify for something else, or is just winning $500 today what you're trying to do? I'm not passing judgment on that. Play them both if you want to. But the bottom line is you just got to decide for yourself what, you know, if winning a seat in a really expensive event is just going to put you in an event where you're uncomfortable, that's not a feeder I would play. I would just focus on a cash feeder or something different. So the bottom line is Darren and team have done a great job of giving us a nice menu of options, and there's lots to pick from. All right.
So let's get into the big qualifier this weekend, Matt. The $500 Jerome Stakes / Smarty Jones Stakes. So this is one of these contests, Noah, you don't see too often with TwinSpires, where there's two tracks you can play from. You can play anything at Aqueduct, and I want to be very clear, it ends in the Smarty Jones, which is not the last race of the day. No, it's the second to last. This is the penultimate race of the day. So the last race at Oaklawn this Saturday is not, I repeat, is not part of the contest. It's a 50-50, Noah, 250 bankroll, 250 prize pool with KDBC seats on the line. Usually we see around 8 to 10x is what you need to get to for these. So somewhere in the $2,000 to $2,500 range in order to get a KDBCC. There will be several of them because, and we'll just show this very quickly, and you just have to look. Let's see. It's one for every 20, Noah. And just explain to people one again how they figure out how many KDBC seats there will be if it's one additional per 20.
Just keep sliding a teeny bit and you'll see.
Okay.
Don't they have
well, but that doesn't
there.
So if Darren listens to this, once they have the entries set, like once they know there's 71 entries, I'd love to see them on the left side of the screen, guys, to say this is exactly what it is. Yeah, I think it's fair. We're not being critical to TwinSpires, but that would be helpful based on this conversation we're having. Well, it's not fair to have that conversation now, Max. We don't know how many entries there are.
No, and I think we talked about that before. They normally do. There's been the last couple tournaments. I have a feeling a particular vacation has gotten in the way of this, but normally once registration closes, they do all the math, and you can see it super easy, exactly what you get. But right, to your point, we don't know the number of entries yet. So you can see the ratio, and if you go back and slide down, this is a ratio that's a little, down. I keep going to the section called prizes.
Okay.
So, right, it's basically one, well, you can read it. It's 1 per 20. I mean, this is a pretty simple one. The math gets a little harder when they have a mix of NHC and KDBC seats because it's a different number of entries to trigger each. But in this case, it's a very flat formula, 1 per 20. That's a pretty top-heavy structure. So for those sophisticated with this stuff, it's going to mean a higher multiple of your bankroll to win, just like Howard suggested, probably in the range of 10 to 12. We'll have to see based on who wins that day.
Okay, so where I was going at for everyone, and I appreciate that, Matt, and no, I'm going to just jump in here so we can move along.
Go for it. Yeah.
So all you have to do is take the number of entries, ladies and gentlemen, divide by 20. You don't have to have a calculator. So, for example, if there are 79 people entered, you would need one more entry to have 4 KDB seats because 80 divided by 20 is 4, right? So 79 divided by 4 is 3 not whatever it is, 9 whatever. So therefore, there'd be 3 KDBCs and almost 5 $5,000 because the KDBC seat is $5,000. So it'd be, for example, in the 79 scenario, ladies and gentlemen, there'd be three KDBCs and let's just say 4,800 for the prize for one person at 4,800. Correct, Noah?
Yeah, 4,750. That would be exactly.
Oh, you
right.
just did. Okay, you did the math on that. Okay, terrific. All right, knowing Noah, you probably did it in my head just to trump my math expertise. All right, guys, let's move on here, Noah. Let's talk about the contest. We got about 10 minutes or so. Early play at New York. Do you have one you'd recommend or a race to maybe take an early stand on?
Yeah, let's go to the Jerome. And before we do that, we like to look at just the number of starters in all the races. And when you see something like that, I have to imagine that Matt's eyes light up pretty big when he sees 5s, 6s, 7s, even 8s. Makes things easier for him rather than some of those 2-year-old contests that we've seen the last couple of weeks. But Jerome's a 5-horse field, and credit to the racing office to keep it out of the late pick 5. We've got 5 horses here. I thought Balboa ran huge in the Remsen. Howard?
Maylata ran today at Parks. It's going to be a 4-horse field, ladies and gentlemen.
It? Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it was important. I don't want you to keep going on or say you love Maylata. Maylata is a talented PA bred. Actually ran today at Parks. I'm sure he's not going to be running Saturday. It's only a 4-horse field. Hit it, no. I'll bring up the PPs right now. Yeah,
now it's down to 4, and I thought Balboa was going to be pretty tough. It's not super clever, but as I said a couple weeks ago with the turfway race, if you need a winner, I think Balboa is probably it. Maybe you get cute with an exacta in the one underneath, but was an impressive winner sprinting at Laurel, and then was part of a pretty hot pace and dueled with I think a 50 or 60 to 1 shot in the Remsen, and I thought held on pretty well. And it seems like those 2 horses that finished 1-2 are going to be some pretty good, early 3-year-olds down the line. So, if you need a winner, I think it's probably Balboa.
Paladin? Who is that? Paladin is a big future Derby horse for me, in case people don't know that I have it at 40-1. Balboa, talented horse for Bob Baffert. Used to be a Bob Baffert, now Brittany Russell. In the early part of the card, Oaklawn, did you see anything, Noah?
Yeah, let's chalk out once again. Race 4 is the Renaissance. Another stake early on the card, this time at Oaklawn. 6-horse field mixed in with those 10 and 12 and 14-horse fields that obviously we love to see down in Hot Springs. If you've got 2 entries, this is a very potential spot of just splitting them up with the one Dirty Rich, who was an impressive winner of the Advent last time. For Peter Miller, kind of ran that field off their feet. I know he's got to stretch out to 6, but he's drawn inside like he was last time. Perfect for him with the speed that he's got. And then the other one to the outside, the 7-5 second choice in Obliteration, who we saw run on the turf a couple times, but he's got sprint races on the main track that obviously completely fit in here. It seems like Dirty Rich will probably go to the lead, and Obliteration will kind of sit off his flank. So, if Dirty Rich isn't good enough, it seems like Obliteration will pick it up.
Yeah, very logical plays right there. And then assuming people can build up a bankroll. And of course, Matt, we've talked about this several times already on the show. That's certainly not an avenue that you have to go. You could do what Edward did and just play some show bets and hit something late if you want. But I think we'd all agree, Matt, if you can find a spot early where you can really press up your opinion, you're putting yourself in, no disrespect to Edward at all, but you're putting yourself, let's say, in a safer position than Edward did with those 2 bets, because you're already at the number you want, and then you have a lot more options. Would that be at the end? Would that be a fair statement?
It really depends. I mean, let's take the most extreme example of the BCBC with 600 entries. Does the average person have a 1 in 30 chance of winning? The answer is no. That makes no sense. And yet, if all they did is pick one winning 30-1 shot and go all in, that 30 multiple is going to be enough to win the contest. So all of a sudden, they give themselves 20 times the chance of winning by just betting some long shot, as opposed to, so there's no one right way to do it, is all I'm saying. And if your opinion is the last race is wide open and it's ripe for a price shot, and you want to tread water and then just fire into 2 price shots, I think it's a great, very valid strategy. It tends not to be one that, it would really depend on one's opinion of the races. I tend to force myself to have an opinion earlier and play these things a little differently, but yeah, it's a fine strategy. I like, I tend to like the approach of looking at a tournament like this, deciding, is it going to take 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits? This is kind of a 2-hitter in my opinion.
Yeah, Chris Couples mentioned that he hit Sunday Boy. That was the dirt horse in the Stallion Series stakes in New York. Jackson doesn't want to remember that race, if I recall, but that's a good point. And by the way, someone mentioned, Matt, when did you move to California? Unless I did something, are you guys, or there's some weird thing going on, but you've got West Coast Spies underneath and Noah's got a better wave thing. That was planned, I'm assuming?
Yeah, he wanted to do my wave. I wanted his salute. So we just switched up a little stuff today.
All right. Well, you're confusing Jeff Amster. He wants to know when you moved to California. Matt did not move to California, Jeff. They're just being cheeky and having some fun here. Okay, I didn't even recognize it. Let's talk about late in this contest, Noah, because this is obviously when it's going to be decided. Now, for Picks and Ponies, ladies and gentlemen, we had Picks and Ponies last night, so please check out episode 448, I believe is the number. It's the very last Picks and Ponies show. It was myself, Pete Visco, and Chris Couples last night. And we handicapped the last 5 races. So obviously I have strong opinions in these races. Noah, what do you like towards the end of the card? There's a stake race in 9, and the big race, the Samari Jones, is race 10. Again, race 11 is not part of the contest. At least that's what I heard. Do we have that confirmed for sure, guys? Because I've said that not twice. Yep. Is that for sure? Okay. Yep. What do you like towards the end of the card? No, then I'll give a few opinions as well.
Let's go to the last race of the tourney, race 10. Smarty Jones. I know you guys were talking about that and had good discussion about that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go on here and say I absolutely love this horse, but I think maybe the most interesting horse of the day in here is the 5, Rancho Santa Fe, who at face value has 2 wins, 1 at a mile at Ellis, and then another one he was able to win by half a length down at Keeneland. And I believe that was Fall Challenge Day. I believe you guys, or at least Howard, you were there and saw this race. And that day he beat 2 horses that came back and won. And at face value, he is slow. There's no doubt about it. He's a little slow on buyers compared to some of the horses that have run a little more frequently. But this will be a little bit of a DRF plug. If you go to Timeform and you click on the Timeform PPs, you can see the 1's got some fast races in there. And the 5 is a little slow on there too. You know, he's only gotten a 98 on there versus you see the 1's got a 110. I think the 9's got even some better races on there, even the 3, who actually I liked last time in the sprint race. But the really cool thing about Timeform is if you click on the last race from the 5 and you click on the 98, you see there's a little O next to it. And sometimes there will be some of these little, indications or variables. And this one here is there was only 1 race on the card that was 2 turns on the dirt. So, sometimes the number can be suspect. Sometimes it's too high, too low, things like that. So, Howard, I'm actually going to have you go back to the formulator PPs, and I'm going to have you go to the races that they ran at Keeneland that very day, October 11th. If you could do that for me, please. So click on October 11th. You can see that was race 3. Let's go ahead and look at some of the races that ran after that race, shall we? Let's look at race 4. If you click on race 4, you'll see a familiar name. Sleeping on Freedom is the 9 in this race, who won that day and came back and won. Let's look at the next dirt race, race 6 on that day. Another sprint, that was a 6.5 allowance race. 1 Magic Philly came back and ran second in a graded stake, and you have 3 next out winners out of that race, including Hilaritu, who I think beat Our Disaster in a stake at Churchill Downs, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so we've got some pretty good form in those 2 races. Let's look at the next dirt race on the card, which I believe is race 8. Race 8 was Stilettos. Stilettos ran big that day, has really come into her own, ran a big fig next out. Seems like that was a pretty good race. Okay, let's look at race 10, which was the last race of the day. Winner came back and won and improved 10 points. And you see 2 other horses came back and won as well. The conclusion here is I think the numbers in the sprint races are a little low, which leads me to believe that the numbers in the 1 route race might be low as well. So I'm thinking the numbers are a little low.
Wow. Was your final exam 2 weeks ago about Keeneland, October 11th, and the figures might be low that day?
Well, it's just a day I'm very familiar with. But long story short, he ran slower races as an early 2-year-old, and there's every reason for him to improve. And he's had time off that others haven't. So he's polarizing. I don't know if he's going to run a huge race or if he's going to be nowhere, but I'm really interested to see what he does on Saturday.
Yeah, let me interrupt for a second and just say you could have handed me this data and given me 10 years, and I'm not sure I could have made that connection that way. That was something very cool.
Well, now, as Pete Visco likes to do, I'm gonna throw some poo-poo on it, on that. Chris Couples, who I respect a lot, does not like this horse at all. Number one, not that anyone would change their opinion based on what someone else thinks. He is a bit of a bicycle horse, Noah. It takes him a while to get going. However, as we talked about this horse, by the way, last night, ladies and gentlemen, on our Picks and Ponies show. So, you can do your own research. He's been November. It's been 2.5 months since that race, Matt. These 3-year-olds can change quite a bit, so, or actually they're 2. Yeah. Why does it? Oh, it says 3 because the race is going to happen. Yep. Sorry, that threw me off. They are 2-year-olds still. These current 2-year-olds can change a lot, Noah, in 2.5 months. But that's very interesting. I do want to throw one horse out there, and it's probably not a contest horse, so I'll be very, very brief. I think number 4, Silent Tactic, is fascinating here for a lot of reasons. And if you want to play exactas or trifectas, or you need a price horse, I think Silent Tactic for Cassie is fascinating. He's got a lot of Sandman in him. I'm not saying he's going to be as talented as that horse, but Matt, this is a horse that likes to come from a little bit off, who has figs that are slower, but he's been working well, and it's his first dirt race. He's been on Sin, and he's bred to be on dirt on the top side with the males, and also there's a lot of early speed in this race. So I just want to mention Silent Tactic, Matt, is going to be a spot play for me underneath, and if that horse upsets the field, I will not be shocked. No, it's really it's a wide open field, and as we're going to close out the show here, race 9 is also not an easy race. It's a stake race. It is a stake race. I think a lot of people are going to lean on Echo again, Noah, here at 5-2. This is a horse that's got numbers that are better than most in here, Matt. So Echo again is a horse I think people could lean on. And then the other race, and all 3 of these races we're going to cover on our live show. There's a horse that every single person on the show, Matt, and I know you know this, you watch Picks and Ponies. Myself, Pete Visco, and Chris Couples, we all picked the 6 Super Cruise in race 8. Again, take it or leave it, everyone. But I think the 6-3 double could be a popular. The 6-3 double could be a popular play there, Matt, to end the contest or towards the end of the contest on Saturday. Final thoughts, Matt, on what you heard, because I know this is the first time you've heard a lot of this, and then we'll wrap up the show.
Yeah, I mean, look, as these things always go, unless the leaderboard of a given tournament gives you reason to question your strategy, I would stick to your target. I would have a target, and I would make your bets to get you there. And so whether you're taking Howard's presumably an underneath horse, or Noah's semi-long shot horse, or if you just want to go with a favorite the race before, that's to some extent a function of what kind of balance you've built up and what kind of risk you need to take at the end. Howard, I do want to get to a tip of the day because I missed that. Oh, shit. It was an episode or 2 ago, I think. Yeah, I missed that.
Let me just promo the bottom real quick, Matt. 4 p.m. Eastern, Saturdays, our Weekend Warriors show. It's going to cover races 8, 9, and 10 at Oaklawn, and the last race in New York. Excuse me. The last race in New York is actually be our first race. So, Matt, we're going to cover 4 races in an hour and a half, and it's in essence the last 4 races of the contest. Weekend Warriors, check out our YouTube channel, 4 p.m. Eastern. We're expecting big viewership. Go ahead, Matt.
All right. Tip of the day. That'll be a fun time. And so quick tip of the day is just surveying the TwinSpires landscape. I want to talk about, it's not the most frequent tournament they have, but they do have win place tournaments that are of the cash live bankroll variety. I'm pointing that out for 2 reasons. Number one, it is often the case that some people enter those tournaments without realizing they are win-place tournaments. So I would just say gently, read the rules and make sure you understand what you're signing up for before you spend your money. If your big play was some trifecta idea, well, you're not going to be able to do that in this. And so you could end up being frustrated. The other point I want to make about those win-place tournaments is that those the place portion of your bet, which is half your bet, serves as somewhat of an anchor at times as you're trying to catch up to someone that has built a lead. And so I would say, at least for my own advice in these things, be careful about letting someone get too far ahead. It gets really hard to chase and catch up if half your bets are place bets. So take that for what it's worth. They are still very fun tournaments. It's just a little bit different solution.
They are fun, especially if you're a little bit of a lower budget player and you want to go that route. Final thing I want to say to everyone, first to Noah, I see your background is been worked on. So good job, Noah. Good for that. You got a little more, it looks like, to go over your right shoulder. I'm sure you'll figure that out. But I love the UK stuff on the left side of the wall there. And of course, all of us, Matt and Noah, I want to wish everyone a very happy New Year's. This is our last show of 2025. We're hoping to have we will have many more leaderboard shows, of course, in 2026, and hopefully beyond. We have sort of a contract with TwinSpires that is technically going to be ending, I believe, towards the end of January. But we are hoping, cross our fingers, that we go on for many more months with them. I know we'd certainly like to do that. Final thoughts, Noah or Matt? Or no, I'll let you have the last word as we end the leaderboard show for 2025.
No, nothing much to say. Happy New Year to everyone out there. If you want to end the year 2025 off right, you can join myself, Rian, and Charlie, who's filling in once again, as you saw him last night on Betting and Booze, and he's coming on. He's doing double duty.
Whoa!
We're going to talk about the San Anita late pick 5 in about 45 minutes. So only if you want to end the year off right.
Great. So Pacific Horse players tonight, Tuesday night. If you're watching as a replay, of course, then you won't be watching it live. But if you're watching live, check out those guys. You do a great job. Noah hosts Pacific Horse players at 9:30 Eastern, covering the late pick 5 at San Anita this Saturday. For my wonderful co-hosts, Noah Maher and Matt Miller, this has been your proud host of The Leaderboard, Episode 8, Howard Kravitz. Crush your bets at any TwinSpires tournament, but especially the Jerome and Smarty Jones Stakes qualifier for the KDBC this Saturday. Take care, everyone. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.